Hello everyone, welcome back to Brain Power Classes. In the previous part, we understood global warming and its effects such as heat waves and heat islands. Now, let us continue with the next effects of global warming. So, we are going to begin with the increase in sea level. We have already discussed question and answers of these in part 1. Now, we will begin with the geographical explanation. So, one of the major effects of global warming is the rise in sea level. The graph, and you can see the graph shows the increase in global sea level from 1880 to the 2020. So the global sea level has been rising continuously over the past century. It is now around 50 higher than the level in the 1990s. The sea level is increasing at a rate of about 3 per year. So, why is sea level increasing? The major reason is the increased melting of glaciers and ice sheets due to global warming. So, remember this simple sequence: increase in global warming, increase melting of ice, and rise in the sea level. There are some effects of rising sea level: deadlier cyclones, frequent flooding of coastal areas, submergence of some islands, loss of habitat for fishes, birds, and plants. So, sea level rise in India. Sea levels are also changing at different rates along the Indian coast. According to studies by the Indian National Center for Ocean Information Services, sea level in India is projected to rise by 9 to 90 centimeter between 1990 and 2100. This may result in saline coastal groundwater, endangered wetlands, flooding of cities and coastal communities. Areas such as Kutch in Gujarat, parts of Konkan coast and southern Kerala may be affected. And the deltas of Ganga, Krishna, Godavari, Kaveri, and Mahanadi on the eastern coast are also threatened. So, next effect is melting of glaciers at a high altitude and snow in polar area. So, melting of ice is a natural process. However, when glaciers and icebergs melt at an alarming rate, it becomes a matter of concern. One of the clear impacts of global warming is the retreat of glaciers. Studies using satellites data from 1989 onwards show that many glaciers have retreated. Example: Gangotri Glacier. Gangotri Glacier, situated in the Uttarkashi district of the Garhwal Himalayas. Gangotri is one of the largest glaciers in the Himalayas. Over the 25 years, the Gangotri Glacier has retreated by more than 850 meters. Between 1996 to 1999 alone, it receded by 76 meters. And it also compares satellite images from 1985, 84 and 2018, which clearly shows the retreat of the glacier in the image on page number 61. You can see here 5.3 A and B, declassification of Gangotri 1984 and 2018. So the this indicates that less ice is being formed each year than the amount of ice that is melting. So the retreat of the Gangotri glacier is around 22 meters per year, and many scientists consider receding glaciers as a symptom of global climate change. Now, similar observation. Similar observations have also been made in the glaciers near Mount Kilimanjaro in Africa. Glaciers in the polar regions are also melting at faster rates. Similarly, glaciers across the Alps are retreating and disappearing every year. Now, fifth is, what are the other effects? So, global warming is also producing several indirect effects. Let us understand them one by one. So, first is jellyfish. Around the world, jellyfish appears to be reproducing heavily and gathering in places where they were not previously seen. So this is happening because of warmer ocean waters and changes in ocean acidity. Second is spread of insects in newer regions. Global warming may increase the number of mosquitoes. Adult mosquitoes prefer higher temperatures and wet conditions for breeding. In areas where temperatures are rising above their average levels, mosquitoes are able to thrive. So, as a result, diseases such as dengue may spread into newer regions. Third effect is coral reefs. Coral reefs are also affected by changes in temperature. Corals have algae living in their tissues. These algae are responsible for giving corals their color. When ocean temperature increases, corals throw out these algae. If ocean temperature increases by 1 to 2 degrees Celsius for a prolonged period, it can cause a coral bleaching. So, during coral bleaching, the coral turn white. If the bleaching continues for a long period, the corals eventually die. Therefore, coral bleaching can lead to the death of a large amount of coral. And more than one fifth of the world's coral reefs are already lost. And in part 3, we will learn about climate change. So, what we have learned in part 2, let's quickly revise. So, in part 2, we have in this video we have studied increase in sea level, melting of glaciers and ice sheets, coastal flooding and habitat loss. Melting of glaciers and polar snow. In that retreat of glaciers, Gangotri Glacier has retreated by more than 850 meters over the last 25 years, and other effects like increase in jellyfish, spread of insects into newer regions, coral bleaching and loss of coral reefs. And in next part, we will continue with the climate change. Now, keep learning, keep growing, and keep exploring with Brain Power classes.